Okay, thank you, Steve Wood. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to wherever you are out there in Zoom land. My name is Robbie, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. I have a permanent sobriety date. It's October 31st of 1983. I have a home group. It's called the Good Morning Avalon Group. We meet 7 days online, and we also meet 7 days live, three, one, two, 3 days a week on our beach here at the Jersey Shore. So I come from a really good group. I also have a sponsor. His name is Ben N. And so I'm an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, by the way, did I say this? I am in AA. Can anybody that's in AA raise your hand? Who here is in AA? Anybody in? Okay. Can anybody that's around AA, could you raise your hand? Anybody's just around it? You know, you sit in the back of the room, you don't turn your video on, you don't do any AA service work. Anybody around AA? Okay, just checking. Not judging, but remember, if I want to be sober, right? And if I want to be happy, joyous, and free, right? If I want to experience all the principles and the rewards and the promises that my God wants me to experience, I got to come all the way in to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? To recovery. I got to come all the way in and I got to sit all the way down. Thank you, Kathy. And the reality of it is when I don't do that, in fact, let me let Dr. Bob channel through me for just a second. He's one of our co-founders. Dr. Bob says this in his last message in 1951 in St. Louis. He said, nobody said, Steve, we get out of this program in direct proportion to what we put into it, right? In direct proportion to our zeal, our enthusiasm, and our stick-to-itiveness, right? So if I'm not putting that much in, I'm not going to get that much out. If I'm doing everything I can, hey, Summer, good to see you. If I'm doing everything I can to stay sober, right? If I'm giving this thing away for free and for fun at every chance I get, if somebody says to me, Robbie, can you do this? And if it's physically possible, I say yes, like I did today for this group, right, Steve? Then I got a chance at this thing called life. So today we are on step 10, right? We all know it. So step 10, there's only 4 paragraphs in the big book. So I got 4 paragraphs. I got about 45 minutes. That is just about right. And I think we're going to have some fun with this. So we're on page 84 of our big books of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So that's where we're going to start. All right. First of all, welcome everybody that just showed up. Natasha, good to see you. Summer, good to see you. And everybody else that's here. Nadja, good to see you. Nellie, Daniel. Anyway, I'm stoked to be here. So here's where we start. Page 84. This brings us to step 10, right? Which suggests we continue to take a personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So everybody notice that right away. I'm not taking Steve's inventory. I'm not taking Nellie's inventory. And I'm not taking Sarah's inventory. I'm taking my personal inventory. And when I'm on firm spiritual ground, or when I'm in fit spiritual condition, which we'll read about in the 3rd paragraph today, I don't need to take your inventory. All I need to do is take mine. And that's what we're doing here in step 10. We're taking our own personal inventory, and we're continuing to set right any new mistakes as we go along. Now it says the next sentence, we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So most of us think we know what that word vigorous is, right? Vigorous means forceful with much energy. I ask you, is your alcoholic actions, are they forceful? Are they filled with energy? Right, Tina? Are you going after this thing, Rach, with all the energy that the drowning would seize a life preserver? That's what Bill tries to tell us in step 1 in the 12 and 12. Right, Kathy Mick? Are we doing that? Or are we just saying, you know what? I don't really got to get involved in that big book compendium. Yeah, somebody else will open it up. Somebody else will do the readings, right, Sarah? Somebody else will share. They'll get speakers. I could just come here and sit around. And if that's my attitude, which we're going to talk about our attitude in the 4th paragraph, If that's my attitude, I'm headed for trouble because alcohol is a subtle foe. Oh, that's in here too in step 10. And I don't want to be headed for trouble. I don't want to rest on my laurels. Oh, that's coming up too. I don't want, boy, I'm the guy that I'll spoil surprises. So let me relax because I love this step and there's so much in it. Okay. But here's the deal. You know, it says, so am I being vigorous? Right? Do I have energy today? And by the way, when I get done speaking, you know, at an event, whether it's a convention, a conference, a roundup, a retreat, I get a chance to do retreats today. Steve and I were just talking about it. Imagine me leading a retreat all weekend with a microphone lapel, right? On my lapel, a microphone on my lapel, and walking around the retreat people. Man, I have a blast. You know, I get to shout the great tidings of recovery. And y'all say, well, Rob, why are you shouting the great tidings? Well, let's go to page 11 on the big book, and I'm going to tell you what it says. Because there was a guy named Ebby Thatcher, right, kicking, and because Ebby Thatcher shouted the great tidings to Bill Wilson, I am here today. You see, Ebby didn't show up at Bill's place to carry this message and say, hey, Bill, how you doing? Ebby, you look different. What's it about, chum? Tell me. And you know what Ebby did? Ebby didn't say, well, Bill, I haven't been drinking for 6 months and it sucks. I miss the good old times, Bill. That's not what he said, Steve. You know what he said? He said, Bill, I got religion. See, he was in this group called the Oxford Movement, right? And he said, Bill, I got religion and I'm not drinking anymore. And Bill figured, well, a little crackpot here. But maybe it'll be more booze for me, right, Sarah? But what Bill would later say, as I just mentioned on page 11, Bill said that Ebby shouted the great tidings. If Ebby did not shout the great tidings that day, maybe Bill Wilson would have never got sober and shouted the great tidings to Dr. Bob. And if they didn't get sober, maybe they wouldn't have went to Charlie Towns Hospital and shouted the great tidings to AA number 3, Bill Dotson. Huh? So are you shouting the great tidings in Alcoholics Anonymous? Or are you just showing up? Ain't no reason to turn my video on. Let me just relax. Let me sit in the back of the room. I don't got to say nothing today, right, Nellie? Let somebody else do it. And by the way, if anything I say bothers you, call your sponsor. And so let's go to the next sentence. And here's the next sentence. The next sentence says, we have entered the world of the spirit with a capital S. I'm cool with that. Listen, I did a lot of drugs to enter the world of the spirit, and it usually didn't work, right? And now today in Alcoholics Anonymous, under the influence, Sarah, of the 12 steps, that's something that Bill says in the 12 and 12, if you read the 12 and 12. Under the influence of the 12 steps, I enter the world of the spirit. I don't know about you, Kathy Mick, but that turns me on. I get turned on when I meet people like Steve W. and Kickin and Tina and Daniel and Nellie and Rach and Summer and Daz. What's up, Daz? And I meet these people that are sober, man. And all they want to do is give it away. And guess what, Rach? They don't want nothing back from me. They want to give this thing to me just like Ebby gave it to Bill and just like Bill gave it to Dr. Bob, huh? And that's why I'm here today, shouting the great tidings. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. You see what that says? Our next function is to grow. It's for me to grow in understanding. It's not for me to have you help. It's better to understand than be understood, St. Francis says. In the 11-step prayer, the 12 and 12 on page 99. It's better to understand than be understood. And it says here, now our job by the time we reach step 10 is to grow in understanding and effectiveness at work. When we talk to our employees, every time I walk by, oh, they look real busy, but are they being effective? Are they producing numbers? Are they giving us reports that show us that our company's going to be, a little better this month than it was last month, or this month this year than last month last year? Are they being effective, or are they just doing this? Huh? They just doing that. When I get a chance to go to a convention or a roundup or a conference or a retreat, my sponsor says, hey, Robbie, because I always call him the night before. He says, "Where you going?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to Arkansas, the old granddad event." And he says, "Oh," he said, "Robbie, as always, give him a great message. And if you have to open up your mouth, well, I guess go ahead." See, my actions show up before my words do. You see? In the other book, it talks about in Proverbs, it says, we can gain all this knowledge we want, but until we put that knowledge into action, which is called wisdom, we don't acquire that wisdom. And see, until I could talk about these 4 paragraphs, honest to God, true, Steve knows about it. I could talk about these 4 paragraphs until about 5 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. I won't do that. Steve's cutting me off at 50 minutes or something like that, and that's fine. But the reality of it is, I could talk about it till 5 p.m. or midnight in England time, and it won't mean a hill of beans if I don't, when I get off this meeting, put it into action. You see? Bill Wilson says something amazing in the AA service manual, right? I don't know if I got it here somewhere. I always have it laying around. It's here somewhere. I can't find it. But in the AA service manual, he says, listen to this. Now listen, don't take out what I'm getting ready to say out of context. Hey, Howard, good to see you, brother. And Bill Wilson says this: AA is more than a set of principles. It is a society of alcoholics in action. And this is from a man that created our principles. This is from a man that at wit's end, at the Stepping Stones in Bedford, New York, wrote the 12 and 12. This is from a man that created the General Service Conference and the 12 concepts. And he says, and I agree with him, AA is more than a set of principles. It is a society of alcoholics and actions. I don't have my shoes on. I usually can take a shoe off when I'm sharing. I can show you the bottom of my shoe. And I can say, my spirituality comes from right here for what I'm doing and where I'm walking and what I'm doing. It doesn't come from this. It doesn't come from the mouth. It comes from my footsteps. Next sentence. This is not an overnight matter. Page 84, if you just joined us. We're on step 10. It should continue for our lifetime. And I'm good with that. Okay, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand now, because when I share, it's an interactive event. Any lifers here in recovery? Who's a lifer? Who's doing life in recovery? Come on, get that hand up, Steve. I know you are. Yeah, look at all those hands going up. Come on, Howard, get that hand up. You're a lifer. I knew you were. You should have both hands up, Howard. And listen, I'm not doing county time here. I'm not doing state time. I'm a past convict. You can tell now, right? I'm a lifer. I'm here for life. I got permanent sobriety. Bill Wilson says our goal is to have peaceful, contented, and permanent sobriety. Not one day at a time cute stuff. That gets dispelled pretty quickly on page 53 of our big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And even Dr. Bob dispels it on page 182 of his story. He says, if you've given up liquor for good and for all, we think we got an answer for you. Your heavenly Father will never let you down. Next sentence. It should continue for a lifetime. What should continue for a lifetime? When our personal growth and understanding and effectiveness, right? And what do we watch for? So we continue to watch for selfishness. Let's talk about that word for a second, because when I'm going to say this out loud, most people don't understand what the word means in recovery. And here's why I say that, because here's what it sounds like. Well, this is a selfish program, and I'm here for me. Wrong, Joey Buttafuoco. Wrong, negative Nancy. Selfish means this: caring only for oneself. I ask you, if this is my final argument in the courtroom, does that in any way, shape, or form represent what we do here in AA? And the answer's got to be no. It's got to be a resounding no. We don't just care for ourselves here. If Eddie Thatcher just cared for himself, we wouldn't be here today. If Bill Wilson, with 6 months of sobriety at the Mayflower Hotel, when that rubber deal went down that he was working on, if he only cared for himself, he would have not got on that phone and talked to Reverend Walter Tunks, who eventually got him in touch with Henrietta Seiberling, who eventually got him in touch with Annie Wilson, who eventually brought her husband to meet Bill Wilson. If Bill only cared for himself, and that's what selfishness means. If anything, please say it right. We are a selfless program here in recovery. You know, I cared for myself way too much before I got here, and it got me to jails, prisons, rehabs, mental hospitals, living on the streets. Today, right, Fernando, my job is the constant thought of others should be our watchword, my big book says to me as we get further on in step 12. You know, it can't be just about me anymore. You know, I can't stand it if I go to a convention and a speaker's up at that stage and the first thing he says is, well, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. And I'm not laughing, whatever your name is, you know, I'm not laughing because for me to be selfish, I'll die. I die alone. We recover together, right? So we got to continue to watch for that selfishness. I can never just be concerned for me. We belong to what's called an altruistic program. And altruism means concern for the welfare of others, right, Kickin? That's what it means. That's what altruism means. We're an altruistic society. You know, that's why when I got on here, I was saying hi to everybody. I wasn't doing that just to put on a show. I was saying hi to everybody because I'm concerned. I love to see you people. I love to see Natasha. I love to see Richard and Howard and Nellie and Kickin from Sweden and Tina and Sarah from Sweden and Rach from somewhere over in England by way of Spain or something. I don't know. But it's just so cool to meet all you people, right? Larissa, there's my friend Larissa from Colorado's on. I love that. Summer's from Florida. We got everything. Daz, I don't know where you're at, brother, but wherever you're at, it's good to meet you, brother, you know? So we got to continue to watch for that selfishness and then dishonesty. So here's how I've combated dishonesty in recovery. Here's what my sponsor did. Every time I lied, right? Steve, check this out. Here's what he made me do because I'm kind of a liar, a big liar. Right. And so every time I lied, my sponsor said I had to do this, Howard. He said, as soon as you lie, I want you to stop talking and do this. Steve, I just lied. I didn't catch 7 fish last night. In fact, I caught 1 and it was a minnow. Okay. Right away. And I had to say I lied. And let me tell you something, do that enough and you'll get sick and tired of lying. And every time I had to do that, Nellie, you know what, Daniel? I didn't speak in front of 1,000 people this weekend. It was about 42 people and they weren't even enthusiastic. You know, I just lied to you, Daniel. And I had to do that every time I was dishonest. And I'll tell you what, you'll stop lying after a while, right? Resentments. Ooh. So we have to watch for resentments. Oh. Resentment means to re-feel an anger. So let's go to 552. This is a member that got sober when she was 16. Her name is Wynn, W-Y-N-N. I want everybody to go to 552 in your big book if you got one open. And this is what I learned about resentments. This woman was born in the 40s, right? She got sober when she was 16. She was a redhead, and she died sober. So that's why I don't usually quote people if they've gotten drunk, but she stayed sober all her life. And here's what page 552 says on resentment. If you have a resentment and you want to be free of, if you pray for the person or the thing that you resent, you will be free. Raise your hand. Who wants to be free of resentments? Anybody in here? Do I see any hands? Thank you. Even Summer, put your hands back on the wheel. All right. I want to be free of resentments too. Right. If you will now here's how to do it. Here's the action. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want for yourself to be given to them, this is the person you resent, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even when you don't really want to do it for them, you know, do it anyway. It says, do it every day for how long? How long do we do it for? Who knows the answer? Somebody put how many fingers up? How many weeks do we do it? 2. That's right. Thank you, Summer. Somebody. God, I feel like I'm alone over here. We do it for 2 weeks, right? This is what this person said. This is what Wynn says. W-Y-N-N is her name, right? We do it for 2 weeks, and you'll find you have come to mean it, and you will want it for them. You will then realize that where you used to feel bitterness and resentment and hatred, now you feel compassionate, understanding, and love. Friends from the Big Book Compendium. I harbor no resentments today. We all know what it means to harbor a fugitive, right? Right? Because I used to be a fugitive. So if you harbor a fugitive, that means you're harboring, you're hiding them away from the police. Well, if you're harboring resentments, kicking, right? You're hiding them from everybody else, but you're really not. We see them. I see them. I can tell when somebody's got a resentment, and I'm not judging Howard, but I know what it's like. I sponsor a few guys, and I know what it's like when you live in resentment and you haven't healed from that yet. What a great thing to watch for that. Please have a sponsor that knows what your resentments are and is willing to walk you through them hand in hand into the, with God, right? All right, we're going to get through this first paragraph. I know we are. All right. So continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Fear, I say. Fear knocks at the door, kicking. Faith answers, and no one's there. Fear knocks at the door. Faith answers, and no one's there. What does faith stand for? Faith stands for Father and I trying hard. You know, are you in the hands of an almighty God? Are you trying as hard as you can? Then you're good. You know, I don't have to walk in fear today. Today I can have courage. Courage is just fear that has said its prayers. So when you have fear, pray, pray, pray. Did I say pray? Pray again. Did I say pray? Pray again. And pray till that fear turns into courage. And you walk to the boss and tell your boss something that you need to tell him. Or you tell your sponsor something you've been doing that's been inappropriate. And you want to get better. See, I don't want to live in the darkness. Nothing can grow in the darkness. I must bring it into the light. Right? All right. So we got to watch for those. So when they crop up, here is our 10th step disciplines, and there's 4 of them. This is called, if you got a big book open and you don't have this written down, write it down. 10th step disciplines. Number 1, ask God when at once to remove them. So there's a time frame. At once, not tonight, not tomorrow, not after I share about it at 3 meetings and character assassinate somebody. No. At once. Okay, when it crops up, at once. Dear God, if you're at work, go to the bathroom and get on your knees. Dear God, I have a resentment. Okay, please help remove it, right? Okay, that's step 1. Number 2, discuss them with someone. Here's another time frame. When? Tomorrow? 3 days later after you've shared about it at 4 meetings? No. How about immediately, Tina? I like that, Bill Wilson. Remember, we got clear-cut and precise directions here, okay? And if they're not presented to you like that, get a sponsor that understands that, okay? These are clear-cut and they're precise. Number 1, ask God at once to remove them. Number 2, discuss them with someone immediately. Number 3, make amends. Here's another time frame. Quickly. That doesn't mean 3 days from now, 6 days from now, 3 months from now. How well do you want to be? Or how unhealthy do you want to be? Right, Nellie? I don't know. Who wants to be healthy? Anybody in here? I'm talking about emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Any hands? Yeah, me too, man. I'm going to put 2 up. 2. I don't want to be unhealthy today. I don't want my daughter to walk on eggshells around me. I don't want my mama to worry about if her son's upset today. When I get to visit my mom in a nursing home, kids, my mom's 90 years old, right? And I get to visit her in a nursing home. Guess what happened, Steve? I get to wheel her around the nursing home. And I get to meet all the orderlies and all the nurses and all the dietitians and all the doctors. And she tells everybody, you know what she says, Daz? That's my son. Isn't he good looking? That's my son. And then she usually breaks my anonymity. I try to teach her that, I try to be a non, but with my mom, there's nothing I can do. She's going to tell everybody all the things that I'm doing in life and how I'm helping people and how I'm going all over the world doing this, that, and the next thing. And if I did something good, she tells them, and I just got to let her do it, And these are the things that no amount of pomp or circumstance can ever replace. Alcoholics, listen up. If you're here in this room at the Big Book Compendium and you are sober and you're not giving it away, you're doing something wrong, period. If you're sober and you got 7 days, give it to somebody with 5 days. If you're sober with 3 days, let's forget about your problems. Let's come here and talk about the solution. Talk about your new sponsor you're looking for. Talk about that first step. You could talk about that powerlessness. We want you to be here, but we want you to realize this is so much more than not drinking and going to meetings and talking about your problems. This is about coming here and getting, this is a 12-step program where we take these 12 steps and we get catapulted in a new dimension of existence. If we join a group like this, we usually learn about the 12 traditions. And if we get involved in the fellowship that we're in a service level, at the world level, like I have, we get involved at the 12 concepts. And wow, kicking, I get fired up about this stuff, All right. So now we got the first 3 disciplines down, right? Remember, when we screw up, the first thing is we ask God to remove it immediately, right? At once. Then we discuss them with someone immediately, right? And then we make amends quickly if we've harmed anybody. But here's the 4th one, and we always forget this. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. It says, then we resolutely, right? We resolutely turn our thoughts to someone that we can help. That's the 4th one. In other words, it's over. We don't got to talk about it the next 5 meetings. It's over. Because we are making it over. We've taken 3 action steps. And then the 4th action step is that we ask, we turn our thoughts to someone that we can help. And that's awesome. It's over. This is not the drama society. Okay. All right. This is alcohol. This is whatever program you're in. This is AA for me. Whatever it is for you, I also belong to CA, Cocaine's Anonymous. I also belong to DAA, Drug Addicts Anonymous. Okay, there's probably a whole lot more programs. I belong to Al-Anon. There's probably a few more I could join that I qualify for, but I try not to go too crazy with that. I belong to my church. I belong to a place called the Lighthouse Church. I get to go there and praise the God that helped me get sober. I get to lead a church group, Richard, at my church, and I lead the Christians United for Recovery on Thursday nights. I get to take this message out into the world, man. And I'm grateful for that. 2nd paragraph. I thought we'd get to it. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. And that's good news for the newcomer. There's a promise. By the time we get to step 10 and you've taken step 10 with a sponsor thoroughly and fearlessly, you don't have to be insane anymore. I don't let people call me crazy anymore. I don't allow it because I'm not crazy anymore. I used to be certifiably crazy. I have spent time in a psychiatric ward, and I'm not crazy anymore. Nuts means not using the steps. If you're nuts, you're nuts. I'm not nuts. I use the steps, right? We will suddenly be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from as if a hot flame. Page 85. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. That's a big promise for the newcomer. I know the newcomers say it all the time. Man, I think you're all lying. They said, who thought about drinking today? And nobody got their hand up. Y'all liars. Now, I understand that, Sarah. I remember early on, I couldn't believe y'all weren't drinking or smoking dope or snorting some type of powder. Right, Howard? How can y'all be that happy and crazy and funky without, using? You know what I mean, Steve? How do you go fishing without a case of beer? How do you go to a concert without a bag of weed? It just doesn't make sense. Y'all got to be lying. How do you go to a football game without a bottle of Southern Comfort? Y'all lying to me, Rach. Somebody going to tell me the truth. And the truth is that we can do it. The truth is that if we come here and we place ourselves unreservedly under the care of a loving God, he will remove that urge. He will remove that obsession to drink and drug. And that's been my experience. We shall see, top of page 85, that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. Hey, listen, I go to events in business quite often where there's the guys are drinking, the men, the other managers are drinking or whatever, and I don't have to. I go to sporting events in the NFL, and I tend to go to tailgates with the rah-rah. And I've been a sportscaster for an all sports radio talk show down here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I've been around men and women that drink with the best of them. And I was always sober. I didn't get that job until I was in sobriety. See, we could do anything. We could do anything that normal men and women do today. It says here, we will see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. That's called intuitive. We will intuitively know, remember step 9? We'll intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We're not fighting it, right? Nor are we avoiding temptation. We all know what that, nobody quotes this at AA, and I'm going to give it to you now. Everybody listen up. Everybody says stay away from people, places, and things. Stay away from people, places, and things. Let me tell you what our big book says. Any attempt at sheltering the newcomer from alcohol is doomed to failure. How do we miss that? Do we not read the big book? Do we not study it, Howard? How do people still say that? You know, if you think you could shelter, if you think you can go to the Greenland ice cap, I'm going to get away from alcohol. I'm new. I can't be around it, Sarah. I can't look at it. I can't smell it. So I'm going to go to the Iceland green cap. And some poor sap will knock on my igloo and say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood, mates. How about a drink? Right, Kath? I can't get away from it. What I can do is I can work on me. And that's what these 12 steps are designed to do. Each step takes out my ego. Each step is more ego deflating than the last one. Ego, easing God out. I don't want to ever have and there's no such thing as a healthy ego for me. That's made up by man. Okay. For me, the ego is not a good thing. For me, I need to be humble. Today, I got to have humility. Today, I got to realize that everything I have today is because of God. And it's a direct result of me getting on my knees and saying, dear God, please take away my difficulties so that victory over them may bear witness. Step 3 of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. I don't want to have the bondage of self, Steve. Forget about the bondage of alcohol. Of course, nobody wants that. We know we're alcoholics. By God, it's half the name of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I also don't want to have the bondage of self where I worry about what you think of me. I think it's pretty obvious 30 minutes into my talk that I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I raise of hands. Is that very obvious? See, I am here today. I'm a God pleaser, right, Natasha? And not a people pleaser. I used to worry about pleasing all of yous. I would go to the bar in the tap room and buy his beers and drinks or bring out those funny cigarettes or those lines of white powder so that you would like me because I had to buy your friendship, Daz. And today, as a child of God, as a God agent, God is my director. I am his agent. He is the principal and I am his student. It's that simple. We had to quit playing God, it says on 62. It didn't work. Today, all I am is an agent of God, and I'm a friend of God too. I'm even more. Here's a little extracurricular, extra work for today, a little bonus for today. I got taught this by my pastor. Today, I'm even more than a servant of God. You want to know why? Think about this. Servants don't get to sit at the master's table, do they, Howard? Servants get to serve the master, the meal, and all those important people, but they don't get to sit at the table. God says, come to the table and eat with me. Be my friend. Today, I get to be a friend. God says, sit at my table. And then he says, go help my kids. Next sentence. It just comes to us. Then that's the intuitive thought. The more I stay sober, the more, and not just sober, the more I come here and I take these 12 steps off the wall and I put, right, Steve, the more I sit with raise your hand if you sit with sponsees and do the steps with them. If you're a sponsor, raise your hand. Raise your hand now and raise it loud and proud. Everybody look around the room. See all the people raising their hands? And that's because we understand the program. And thank you, everybody. And we give this thing away. And if you haven't gone through the 12 steps with a sponsor, get with one of us. Just let us know that you want to go through these steps. I'll do them on Zoom with you. I've taken people from Spain and England and Scotland and who knows where. Oh, I'm going through what Summer. Who's the guy I'm going through? I'm going through the guy, Vil from Albania. I'm doing the 12 steps with now. We're having a blast, Howard. We're having a blast. He's 9 hours ahead of me. So I make him do them at 3 a.m. He'll stay sober, kicking and scratching and screaming if I have anything to do with it. All right, here we go. So it says, this is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. You hear that? We are not avoiding temptation. Nowhere in there does it say stay away from people, places, and things. Keep the rehab crap out of Alcoholics Anonymous and our recovery. And that's my message. It says, because we could kill people with that message. It says here, if we take the steps, if you're going to shout something, and if you're going to share something that has depth and weight, keep the frothy emotional appeal out. It will not suffice for the real alcoholic or addict. Right, Howard? Our stories are what we share about here has to have depth and weight. Or I keep coming back and works. If you work, it's so worth it. You're worth. That's cute. But it's not good enough for a guy like me. It's not going to keep me out of the rehab. It's not going to keep me out of the. And you know what it's going to do, Richard? Eventually, it's going to kill me. Because there's a singer named Eminem, and he has a great song, and it says we got one chance, we got one opportunity. Are we going to take that chance and that opportunity to carry this message? Or are we going to let it slip away with some frothy emotional appeal? Are we going to go to a meeting and spend our time talking about our dog, our cat, or our boss? Or are we going to come here and are we going to say, Richard, my name's Robbie and I'm an alcoholic and I'm having a tough day. I'm going through a divorce or whatever. I lost my job or my cat died. But you know what, guys? I know that staying sober is the most important thing in my life. And I start crying and I tell you people, I love you. And this is where I'm at. And thanks for letting me share. Am I coming here and speaking from my heart? Or am I bringing a canned speech? Every time I go to a convention or a conference or anywhere I go, Steve, I speak from my heart. Bill Wilson says we speak from the language of the heart on page 16 of his story, not the language of the gutter. So we haven't even sworn this off with alcohol. We have a position of neutrality. Instead, the problem has been removed, page 85. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor we're afraid. I know I get a little cocky, so I got to watch that one. I get a little cocky with this. I know I do. I'm that guy that leads the parade, Steve. I'm the guy that if we're going after alcohol, you want to be with me at the end of the world. If the world's ending and alcohol's coming after us, because I'll lead the way with the sword and the machete and let's go, get behind me because we're staying sober, Howard. You know what I mean? And I know Howard, he'll be in front of me saying, get back, Rob. I'm older and wiser. And he'll start cutting people up. And that's who I am, right? I'm a warrior and I can't help that. So I got to watch that. It says, this is how we react. So long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. Now listen, group, we all know what it means to keep in fit physical condition, right? We do push-ups and pull-ups and we jog and we run and we put it on Facebook. Look at me at the gym. Woo! Look at my butt. Woo! Look at my muscles. Yeah. We know what it means to be like that, right? To be vain. Well, are we like that with our spirituality? Are we keeping in fit spiritual condition? I do it all the time. When I'm doing steps with a new guy, I'll put it on my Facebook. I swear I will. They won't know what we're doing. I'll just say I'm with Devin and we're having some fun and we're on the beach with our big books. You know, I don't care. I'm in fit spiritual condition. Let's end this up now. How am I doing? Yeah, 48. Oh, we're doing good. I got a few minutes. Okay, so it's easy. Last paragraph. Next to last paragraph. This is only the third paragraph. Man, I can ramble. It's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. What's a laurel? A laurel is like awards. A laurel is like, oh, here's what a laurel sounds like. Oh, Robbie, you're a great speaker. That's a laurel. That's accolades. And so it's easy to rest on our laurels. I don't rest on my laurels. I know who I am and what I am, Tina. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm one drink away from a drunk. I'm that guy that's one drink or drug away from a mental hospital. I don't rest on my laurels because we're headed for trouble if we do. For alcohol is a subtle foe. What does subtle mean? Subtle means that we don't know it's there. Oh, but it's there. Alcohol is a subtle foe. What we really have is a daily reprieve. Reprieve means it's a postponement. Okay, we have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities, right? How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. So these are the thoughts which must go on with us constantly. There's another good word, Bill, constantly. I don't take no breaks. Recently, I was in Curacao, and I was on this island of Curacao. And I went to a meeting every day. I figured it out kicking. I brought my computer with me, and people got angry with me because they seen this beautiful resort, but oh well, they got over it. We can exercise our willpower along this line. All we wish is the proper use of the will. Last paragraph. Now, this is big because now we get into the sixth sense, Steve. I was hoping I would get here. This is the 10th step. Now, many will not ever experience this. I challenge you. I challenge you to get to the 10th step. I challenge you to find out what this sixth sense is, what this God consciousness is. And here it comes. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration. Inspiration means somebody has breathed life into you. And direction or guidance. Guidance stands for, write this down if you want, guidance. God, you and I dance. Do you got some guidance in your life? Are you and God dancing? That's what guidance is, right? And direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully, now here's a warning. If we have carefully followed directions, if we don't carefully follow directions, this part is not for you. Mute me. Or not mute me, but don't listen, okay? Because this doesn't apply to you. But if you do follow directions, please listen. We have begun to say these are the 10-step rewards. If we follow directions, we've begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. Oh boy, have I felt that. And what a beautiful feeling is it. I don't got to be on my surfboard out in the ocean here in New Jersey. I don't have to be on the top of the Himalayan mountains, and I don't have to be at the 12 coconut meetings in Hawaii. Nice place to be. I've enjoyed it. However, I can sense that spirit flow into me right here and right now. If I rightly relate myself to God and I'm present, right, Natasha? If I'm present, to some extent, we have become God conscious. We've begun to develop this vital sixth sense. So this is the thesis statement of the 10th step. We develop a vital sixth sense or a God consciousness. Today, I don't make jokes about people so others will laugh. Because maybe that joke I'm making about somebody, hey, I got 7 people to laugh. Maybe that's good for my ego. But what about that person, Sarah, that I made fun of? How does he feel or she feel? But we must go further, and that means more action. And that's the end of the 10th step. So let's see what time it is. What do I got? About 2 or 3 minutes, Steve? What do you think? 2 or 3 minutes? Okay, good. Thank you. And so as I close, today, do I have that God consciousness? You know, am I considering others before I say things? You know, or am I just thinking about myself? Am I being selfish? Remember what we said, right, Summer? Remember what we said early on. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, and resentment. Hey, they're going to happen. Remember what it says earlier. We're going to have certain trials and low spots ahead. See, the true judge of character isn't a man or a woman or a person who's got it all, right? Who's on vacation and has money and everything's going well. The true character of a person comes out when the chips are down and things aren't going well. And they can come to an AA meeting, or they can call their sponsor and they could say, hey, and I'm going to tell you what it sounds like. Hey, my name's Robbie and I'm an alcoholic. And today I've had a horrible day. Now, this isn't the truth. I'm just giving you an idea. And I've had a horrible day. This happened or that happened. But I know that this is where I belong. And I know I don't want to drink today. And I know even though I got 40 years of sobriety, today I'm hurting. And today my heart is hurting. And I've had those days, and not all that long ago. I had a woman say that she didn't want to be in my life anymore. And that hurt. And for no reason. It just tore me apart. And I called my sponsor. And my sponsor said, come on up on Sunday. And that was just a little while ago. And he spent all day with me, and we spent time in his pool and his jacuzzi, and him and his wife and all our friends, nobody asked me about this woman. Nobody did. But all of them loved up on me, And they all told me that no matter what, they're glad that I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't have to put this woman down for any reason. It's just time for her to move on. She was just a season in my life. And today, as a sober member of AA in good standing for over 40 years, I'm in total love with AA. I don't know about you. Hey, I'm going to end with this, I promise, Steve W. You ever hear somebody say they've been married for 40 years and she's the love of my life, or he's the... Well, ladies and gentlemen and people and friends here in this meeting, I am in absolute love with Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've been in love with AA for 40 years, and I make no qualms about it. And I will do anything that will lift this merciless obsession from me. I will do anything to give this program away for free and for fun. I will drive for 15 or 16 or 17 hours to a conference if it means to carry this message. And I don't say that out of any bravado. And then I'm usually excited when I get there. They're like, do you got to go to sleep? I'm like, go to sleep? Not yet. I'll sleep tonight. Let's go to a meeting. And I'll be there for the early bird meeting, even though I just drove 15 hours. I hope you have that enthusiasm. I hope when you get a chance to sit it out or dance, and I mean in AA or NA or CA or whatever A you belong to, whatever recovery program you belong to, when you get a chance to sit it out or dance, I hope by golly you dance. And I hope you don't worry about what anybody thinks about you, because each and every one of us is loved by our God. And each and every one of us is very special. And each and every one of us is worthy to live and worthy to have a wonderful and amazing life. I say to you, I love each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. If there's anything I said here, honestly, that upset you, listen, man, I do care about AA so much, and I get passionate, and my only hope is that my message, the message of Alcoholics Anonymous, the message of recovery, the message that God gives me, that, that my words fall to the ground, but that my God's words come into your heart and make it explode, so that you can give this thing away for free and for fun. And you can keep this program alive so that it's always here for generations to come. My name is Robbie. I'm a recovered alcoholic from Southern New Jersey. And it's been an honor today to be at the Big Book Compendium and to share. Steve, thank you.